Thomas. Great to have you here. Welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Cynthia.
Before we formally kick things off,
I know you have lived in Shanghai, for almost 1 year, right? So
For a long summer, yeah, but a long time ago,
a
20
long
years
time
ago.
wait, how many years ago exactly?
It was in 2004. I was
Oh.
studying Chinese, and I came to work in a factory actually in Shanghai, so not far from here.
Oh, wow. That's 21 years ago. So how do you feel about China today? And the open source movement, the AI movement here? What's your take?
I think it's really impressive for us. I mean, we've been following that for quite some time at Hugging Face, obviously. So we knew that there was something happening in AI in China before I think the rest of the world realized it. But I think China has transformed the world here. Like with all this open source contribution, with all these new teams appearing, you know, and creating this amazing model, and this very surprising thing that they embraced open source, like very few other teams have done around the world, right? And not just open weights, but this whole sharing community, open science ethos, I think is now here is really where a lot of the open science research is happening.
yeah. Wow, that's great. And I'm pretty sure 5 years ago it was very different, right?
It was, yeah, very
Yeah.
unexpected, I think, for us. But when I come here, I realize also where it comes from. I think it's very natural, I think, here. There is a way of collaborating and going really quickly, climbing, you know, the development, like seeing them, the teams, when you visit them. So I visit some teams. I came in July, just a few months ago. I visited some teams. And already now, in October, I see that they've made amazing progress in a couple of months. And I think all this collaboration, all the open source way of quickly sharing advancement is helping a lot. It's helping along to move very fast.
That's really accelerating, and I think we're going to see even more momentum behind the open source AI movement going forward. We've actually been one of the most active VCs, open source companies in China. I think we've committed 300 million RMB over the past few years.
Yeah, thank you. So let me ask a tough question. We know, today, if we look at the market cap, right, almost none of the open source community have any company with market cap exceeding 100 billion. So what's your view in future, in next 10 years? So it looks like open source in investors' mindset, they thought open source means non-profitable, which means less market cap. But do you agree on this? And what's your view in future? And also, if you think if any one company could could become the first 100 billion market cap company, and which company could be? Of course, I'm saying Hugging Face definitely is a company worth 100 billion US dollar.
You want investment advices? I don't know. Yeah, I could say three things on this topic, I would say. The first one, I think, is that open source is always the long game. We play the long game. We don't play, when you play open source, you have to not expect very short-term profits, but you trade them for much higher long-term profits. And the main reason is twofold. The first one is that with open source, you will build a community around your product. And these things take a bit of time. It's always the thing. But ultimately, if you take lessons from software, open source is now the dominant way we develop software. It was not the case 20 years ago. There was a very strong fight between closed source software, open source software. It was not clear that open source would become the core of all our infrastructure today. And I think we have the same in AI. Not clear if AI is going to become the core of our future infrastructure. But I think 10 years from now, if we look back, it's obvious. We'll see, of course, open source AI was going to win because in the long term, this carry like all the power of the community. I think that's one reason maybe the valuation are growing maybe less fast, is that you're playing a game of long term. You need to be there in the marathon. And the second reason, I think, for why I think open source is very important is increasingly AI is moving from this big focus on the LLM and the pure, like, almost research part, focus on products. And I think in products, it's quite different. Products, you're talking about brand, you're talking about users that want to play with your tools. And I think here, open source is also very helpful. You can grow very fast. I think that's clearly one of the reasons DeepSeek became such a world brand, and they were one to raise that. Is that they used open source to kind of very quickly have a lot of brand awareness. And then on top of that, you can build product. And not all of your products have to be open source, right? I mean, even at Hugging Face, we are very famous for open source. But we open source the model, but our website code is not open source, right, for instance. So you can be very smart about open source and use it to your advantage, I think, to build a very large company. And I think for the third point, which company will be the 100 billion company? You know, when I visit here, I think it might very likely be a company starting from here. So 100 billion RMB company, more than $100 billion. Hopefully it will be Hugging Face, but when I see here the amount of talent, you know, the amount of competition internally that push them to build a great thing, I think, wow, the competition is very strong, and I think it may be one of these companies, maybe someone here in the room.
Well, thank you so much for the great praise to us. And honestly, yeah, I totally agree with you. Historically, open source, as mostly in the infrastructure layer, software that didn't really have consumer products or ecosystems around it. But now, with AI going mainstream, open source has this incredible potential. Given how because AI is mainstream, to actually reshape industries at scale. I mean, look at what DeepSeek just did, right?
But I'm pretty sure if we have companies here, Chinese company become like 100 billion RMB, then Hugging Face definitely will value 10 times, even 100 times, right? Because Hugging Face is an ecosystem, is a platform to supporting all these open source companies, yeah.
I think that's something very right you were telling me just before at the table, which is open source. Nobody can build a full stack for AI. If you want to do robots, if you think about it, it has to start from actuators, hardware, all the way up to LLM model, VLA. It's really hard to think that just a single company would build all this stack. And it's much faster to actually do a lot of collaboration between companies. And some of them do amazing AI models, and some of them do amazing hardware. And they work together to get these two worlds. And here, I think this way of working together is very natural for all open source. I think it's really the way open source, shine, the strength of open source shine. And in a way, the reason you will have, in my opinion, a $100 billion or RMB company in open source is because you have this way to build a standard that everyone rely on. And that's, I think, what Hugging Face has become in a way. It's kind of a standard for the whole community. So you put yourself as the most platform-based company in the world of AI.
Exactly. Right now, we're already seeing the huge potential that transformers have unlocked. But when you think about the next era of AI, robotics, the physical world, end-to-end embodied intelligence, Hugging Face is going to be the platform, powering the robotics revolution. And that's why you, as co-founder, you're always thinking 10 years out, what Hugging Face could help the whole world, could change the whole world. From the 10 years perspective, right, that's what drove you to launch the robotics project a year ago.
Yeah, I think we see our role as kind of a connector between all these teams. I think connector between the LLM companies, the company who build models and their user, connector between the robotics company and the LLM companies, connectors between maybe academia research and industrial research. I think our role is to try to bring all these people together to catalyze, to multiply by 1,000 the number of innovation, the number of integration they can do. I think it's very rewarding when we see, when someone open source a nice model and we see on Hugging Face the explosion of community people using this model, changing it, tweaking it, discovering new usage for this model. I think it's probably one of the highest pleasure I have day to day in running Hugging Face.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that when robotics becomes the next frontier for open source AI, not OpenAI, I mean Hugging Face open source AI, when embedded intelligence goes mainstream, we're talking about a market. The embedded intelligence, that's maybe 5 to 10 times bigger than what we have today, right?
And here also we see the early winners are the ones that use open source. Like I was telling you, we were yesterday, for instance, visiting Unitree, and I was really discussing how the way they managed to get to a very visible position in the whole world is because their software is very open source. So a lot of people buy their robot and then change them and teach them these new tricks, these kung fu moves, these jumping tricks. And that's only possible because the robot itself is designed as a very open platform. I think it's an unfair advantage that they have right now.
Yes, we're definitely looking forward to that. And you're really the champion pushing this forward. But you also mentioned the sustainability piece. So how do you balance the open science mission with the need for sustainable growth?
Yeah, it's always, when you decide to have a company that has a strong open source component, I think one of the challenges that come with that is you need to think about new business model. You cannot just, sell everything you do because you decide to give a fraction of it for free. I think it's a challenge, but it's also a great source of innovation in business, which is if you decide to give this for free, you get more users, and then you need to think, okay, how am I going to charge these users? You can decide that you open source some, for instance, smaller models, and then you charge for larger models. This is what some companies are doing. A lot of the LLM companies are doing, for instance. If you're in robotics, it's quite natural because you can also decide we're going to make people pay for the robots, and then we give all the software for free. I think it's very natural in robotics because you can make people buy hardware, and then you give all the rest for free, I think. In our case, we decided to give a lot for free, and we were looking for a business model that would also fuel our platform. So a business model where the more models we have on the hub, and the better the quality of the models, the more money we earn as well. So kind of content provider, a bit like we're kind of YouTube of AI. We want good content on the platform. We want good models on the platform. And so the way we did that was to try not ourselves to train models, but to try to actually empower everyone who train model and want to bring it on the platform. And the way we empower them is to help them have a lot of visibility, try to co-market, to co-share, the great advancement they are doing. Let's say someone decides to open source a great coding model. We'll work with them to make this model very easy to use, to explain in the simplest way why this model is great. And this make people bring some models, and a lot of models, which increase the size of the hub. So right now we just passed about 4 million models on the platform. We have about half of it is public, half of it is private, because people can also upload private models on the hub. And a lot of people use that, actually. People upload one model every few seconds on Hugging Face. The number are staggering, I think. And so what we developed around that is an enterprise version of our hub. So people who upload a lot of model can switch to an enterprise version of the hub where they have a lot of security control, where they have a lot of resource access to understand how people use their model, to control who can access the model. I think it's very natural because it encourages them to share even more model and to use more the platform. But in a way, we're still open to also play with different business model, as I told you. I think AI is also a great occasion to think differently. How do we want to monetize this? You can monetize, for instance, per token, but maybe if you sell per token your LLM output, it's not so obvious. Maybe you want to sell, for the outcome, for instance. If your LLM is solving great problems for someone, maybe you want to monetize how much the value of this problem is for your end user. So I think what I want to say is you should keep in mind that it's really an area where we can rethink a lot of our business model. And I think a lot of this business model can be very compatible with open source.
So I think there are two takeaways here. One, Hugging Face is genuinely a hidden gem. The business value and AI value are still massively underappreciated. And two, whoever builds within the Hugging Face ecosystem and really leverages that community, they have a real shot at becoming a global leader. Like I just mentioned DeFi. We invested about a year ago, and today, because of open source, they're becoming the global #1 in their category. Over 100 enterprises are using their solution. It's actually an AI chain that's showcasing tomorrow. So Hugging Face doesn't just bring ecosystem value, data, and infrastructure. The companies inside the Hugging Face ecosystem are growing tremendously. That's the conclusion I keep coming back to.
Yeah, a lot of my day-to-day activities also try to teach and share some lessons that we learned on how to do that well, how to grow a community, and how people can reproduce our model in their own activity. I think it's come with the mindset. We think basically you can make the pie bigger for everyone. Yeah. It's this idea of e-commerce, right? If you have an Amazon was, I think, one of the first doing that. You don't need to sell only your product on your platform. You can also invite everyone to sell their product on your platform. If we grow the pie bigger, maybe you don't have full ownership, but that's fine because the pie can become so big that the share that you keep, is enough to make a lot of revenue. We have this same mentality in general, so we try to empower a lot of the teams, company using our platform. We try to teach them how they could do what we do and benefit from that. And we think by this we'll have very win-win collaboration with a lot of the actors in the ecosystem. It's kind of paradoxical way of thinking, but I think ultimately it's extremely powerful with all the network effect that you can create through that.
Definitely. Because AI today is the knowledge and everything, resources are within very small, limited number of people. So whoever who get close to Hugging Face, who get to know AI better, so who can become the winner in the next 10 years. Yeah. Okay, I think I have to stop here because we have too many questions wanted to discuss. And then obviously Thomas is so good because he really is a guru for AI. But we would like to offer 1 to 2 questions to the audience so that, Elvin. Yeah. We also have 6 people, including Thomas, sitting there from Hugging Face. So if whoever wants to build a connection could come to Tiezhen, which is based in China. Yeah.
Hey, Thomas, thank you for flying in from London or France earlier. So we appreciate that you coming over to Futurex conference to share about Hugging Face and where you see AI going in the future. So I guess this question has 2 parts. So you often say that AI shouldn't belong to a few. So if open AI truly becomes infrastructure, what is the new social contract going to be between communities, governments, and just corporations? And when models actually do become a commodity, what defines the next competitive edge? Is it data, deployment speed, or is it going to be human alignment? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very good topics. I think open source forces you also to understand that you cannot only rely on the power of your model to win the world. So you have to think about other competitive advantage. But I think it's a good practice in general because I think it's very dangerous to only think because I make the best model, I'm going to win race. So I think there's a lot of way that will become new modes. One thing we see starting now is kind of brand awareness, community and marketing, which is people will use your product because they like your story, they like your brand, they like what you push. I think some famous company also, for instance, Mistral, I think, build a very good brand that even beyond the models themselves, people wanted to associate with it, like this brand. I think here we've seen also the same thing happening in China, with some company being able to build a brand that actually transcends, the pure tech. So that's one way you can do. And the other one I think is more traditional, is just build a very great product. And the product is not only the LLM, the product is everything around, right? If I'm in a car, I'm using interface, it's not only the quality of the LLM, it's like, is the system well designed? Does it answer really well what I do? Is the quality of the sound pleasant? Do I feel an emotional connection, right? There's a lot of things that go into that are beyond just training the model, that are more like software design, like interaction design. I think these are very important in AI, and the best product and the winning product will be the one you have pleasure using day to day.
That's great. A lot of insights. One more question. The lady over there. I think Thomas has bring the most advanced AI insights to hear to our audience.
Yeah,
Thank
yes.
you for the
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah, very inspiring. Yeah, I just heard the whole speech shared by the Thomas. Thank you for your sharing. Actually, I have one question for Thomas. Like, as open source AI continues to grow, so how can we keep it open and transparent while still ensuring the model safety? That's my question.
Open and transparent
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
showing the model
So about
safety.
the data safety, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good question. So my feeling is that safety is something we should take seriously, but also we should stay grounded, I think, in reality. So I think people tend to sometimes go a bit too crazy in safety, maybe, and they think AI is going to, take over the world very quickly. As someone who built this model, we kind of know they're mostly functioning as really good tools, right? There is no magical self-awareness in any of the model I've used, even though they are very good. And so what we're trying to push right now, and I would like to see much more, is a very nice safety evaluation, also an open source model, so that open source is also associated with safety. And here we need to explore, a various set of direction around the most common use. Also, safety is something that depends a bit country by country. Some countries are more sensitive to some topic, other countries are more sensitive to other topics. So we should see, what is a nice common ground. And that's some of the discussion we've been having with the team we met this week, which is how could we do that in open source? I think it's something we need to do, and we need to do it well. But I'm also not really worried with the capacity of the model today that there is very strong danger.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We finished the panel in time, but I think there are just too much things we can learn from Thomas. And thank you so much for coming here and after 24 years and come back to, but you are definitely in the right place, because next 10 years, the Chinese will contribute so much to Hugging Face society and to AI. So we all are going to benefit from that. And thank you for funding Hugging Face to allow all this to happen.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you, Thomas.